Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to the Inflamed Sisters Thriving Podcast, a safe space created to guide women living with chronic illness to uncover their purpose by doing what they were meant to do, move in power by advocating for themselves, and accelerate their growth in health, career, and business. You will learn how to stop hiding and start thriving. We will inspire, educate, and motivate you as we show you Inflame Sisters thrive together always. Hello, my name is Katina Morrison, and this is the Inflame Sisters podcast. And I am so happy to have you all here. Today, we have the amazing guest, Antoinette Chrisana. Come on in,
Hello,
girl.
hello, hello.
It's so good to see you. And I'm hearing your voice so crisp, so well. It's so good. And I love seeing your smile, sis. It's so good to see that.
Thank you.
So, everyone knows me, Katina Morrison, who is the podcast host and a chronic illness coach. But tell me about you, sis. Introduce us.
Okay, my name is Antoinette Atkinson, so Antoinette Chrisana, which I go by. I run the Chronicles RA Warrior page. A little bit about my story is I have been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and I have been fighting it. I like to say that I'm 7 years deep in these RA streets. So like it started for me at age 20, and from there, it has progressed and progressed where I am 7 years deep now. RA hit me when I was I believe a sophomore in university at Princeton University. I was just getting all my new little things down. I just got my new apartment. I had just got, finished my classes that I needed, all these little things. And then I noticed that my feet started to get sensitive. I noticed that my hands were getting sensitive. No longer could I, hold the pencils and to take notes in class. I can no longer like walk to my class without, extreme pain. I couldn't stand without extreme pain. I was sitting in class sometimes and I couldn't hardly, between the pain and, trying to take notes, I couldn't concentrate. All these different things were happening. I was kind of just, I went to a doctor back then, those years ago, to get kind of check up to see kind of what was going wrong with me. And she had equated to being, well, if your knees hurt and your ankles hurt, then it must be weight related. And so, I kind of took her at that word and just went along with those things. So, things progressed further, and I'm sitting here thinking, oh my God, yeah, I got to get this weight off because, the pain is getting worse and getting worse and getting worse. About a year passed, I'm about to go into junior year, and we realized that, whoa, this is getting even worse. At this point, like it became to the point where I had to have a cane. I needed a crutch, like to get around campus. I wasn't able to walk across campus to get to my classes any longer. I had to sit down and drive just across, like, and the campus wasn't that wide. I had to drive all the way across there just to make it to my classes. And eventually I kept pressing, and then because I had moved into an apartment that was a second floor apartment and didn't have no elevator, my mother actually had to move on campus with me to help me. I couldn't do my hair, I couldn't grip a comb, I couldn't cook, and at this point, it almost was unbearable to even lift and hold a washcloth. So my mother moved on campus to help me and assist me. And we tried that for a while, and eventually, because I'm the oldest of 8 kids, my mother, she couldn't stay up there all the time with me. I would live about an hour and 15 minutes away from the house. So eventually we decided, Antoinette, maybe you need to take try to go doing like I think it's like the half term kind of period. So we did that, and I tried to do part-time student. We tried and we tried, and then eventually, we noticed back at home, I had become even worse. At this point, I had become wheelchair bound. So no longer could I stand on my own. I couldn't stand unassisted. I couldn't do anything for myself, like even transfer myself from the bed. I had to use a BZ board to get from the bed to my wheelchair. My bathroom is only like maybe 10 steps away from my bed, and I couldn't even make it there. Like, so many things happened at one time. And then from there, we decided, okay, this part-time is not working because my mother had to drive me an hour up and an hour back every single day to try to help me do part-time. So eventually I had to medically withdraw. And during this time, I medically withdrew, and we were at home for a while. And turns out that I lost almost over 70 pounds within within a 2 month to 4 month period. 70 pounds just dropped off out of
Wow.
nowhere. Literally not even trying. It wasn't working out or doing anything. Now, a back part of this, a very big part to this story is that all my life I had never done any kind of medications, like never, not even a basic aspirin. So everything I've done was like holistically and like natural substances, like natural cures, natural treatments, natural remedies. So I had never knew anything about no medication. So I was dealing
Yeah.
with all this pain, all this pressure, all this stuff like naturally. So, at my house, we kind of searched up my symptoms, despite what the lady, my first appointment had said, how she said it may be weight related. We decided to search and we try to go through like my family history and trying to see like, have we seen this kind of, symptoms expressed anywhere throughout anybody else in my family history. And they drew back to my grandmother and my grandfather on my mother's side. And, we could recall that he did have like something was wrong with him, like a little kind of arthritis touch, but we kind of equipped it because he was a veteran and he was a hunter. So, we thought like, okay, this is like osteoarthritis or like old age, from working, veteran, working on buses, working on cars, hunting
Let me
early in the morning.
Let me step in though right here.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I want to bring attention to in your journey that you're sharing with us is that you and your family were told that your condition was associated
Mm-hmm.
with your weight and not, and there was no additional assistance provided to you. The only thing you were told was, okay, you're having knee pain, you're having hip pain, or whatever the case is, it must be weight related. But you had this journey that took you from being a young woman, which you are still
Mm-hmm.
quite a young woman, who was able to do everything you're on your own, to someone who actually was disabled and still
Mm-hmm.
trying to accomplish your schooling, still trying to fight through even your mother making certain sacrifices as well,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to support you and helping you to do this successfully. We need to cue into that this journey of yours was a quite a struggle, and all without even knowing that it was rheumatoid arthritis. So, and then you went through the journey to find out that, okay, someone in our family had arthritis, but we thought it was just old age. And that's what people
Yep.
often assume, that rheumatoid arthritis or any arthritis is associated with old age. But you're evidence, and I'm evidence as well, that it affects young people as well. So
Literally.
when you went through that time and you spoke, your family researched and they saw that it was your that you had a relative that had was affected by arthritis. What what was the mindset journey for you though throughout all of this?
Immediately after, I got we kind of got a cue in our head that, okay, this may be kind of arthritis related because, my grandfather had something like this and my grandmother had some kind of little bout with this, we think, but we didn't know for sure because once again, it's a great disservice when, we're raised in families or cultures where, these things are not spoken of, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like, don't say it, don't claim it. It's almost like, well, don't tell my business. No, people need to know this kind of stuff because, if you're part of a family, this will not only affect you, like this could affect many other people. You don't know if you have a grandchild down the way, she's wondering, well, where did this come from? Well, I didn't even know of this kind of stuff. I didn't know this beforehand. Like I didn't know anything about this. So, we found out about my grandfather. We searched, so I went straight to Google and I was finding all kind of remedies. I was gingered out. I was turmeric out. When I say I was doing all kind of raw stuff, um, it became to the point where I was even finding, ways to relieve pain naturally. I used to wrap my joints in raw cabbage and it works. Like people, like all these little things that people say work, it actually works. So the raw cabbage was relieving the pain, and
Mm-hmm.
we was trying to find all different kind of ways to research and exercise. I was started doing water aerobics, which I couldn't walk and I could not walk and I could not stand. So, these are all triumphant moments for me. Every moment that I left my house in that wheelchair, like life did not stop because I was in a wheelchair. That period definitely showed me a lot about myself that,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of reality, regardless of what's going on within my life, I know that I have the press inside of me to push through regardless. I'll make it, happen any way possible. If I have to
Mm-hmm.
roll, I'm going to roll. If I have to crawl, I will crawl. So that's definitely one of the main things, I went to do. I went straight to searching to Google to find
And
answers to a lot of the questions.
so you went to Google University, girl.
Literally, Dr. Google, Dr. Google. It's good for you. Sometimes it's good for you. Then sometimes, it set you on the wrong path.
Exactly. And as a registered nurse, I always say though, Google in the right hands is powerful. Google in the
Mm-hmm.
wrong hands can have you in distress, basically,
Literally.
because you never know what Google is going to tell you is the diagnosis.
Google
So
had me stressing,
it had you stressing. Yeah.
literally.
And most of the people that I work with, the clients that I work with, is the same case. And that's but the thing is this is you use Google, but Google gave you some natural and holistic options that actually worked for you. Oftentimes people don't go straight to the natural and holistic options. There's people who are waiting for a doctor to give them medications to treat it. But you mentioned that wrapping your air joint with cabbage,
Raw cabbage
raw cabbage actually helped.
and
Turm-
a saran wrap around it. Put raw cabbage on it, saran wrap
mhm.
around it. Now, listen, disclaimer: it's gonna have a little smell.
She's
It's raw cabbage, but it's gonna get the
uh-huh.
job done. But the pain's gonna be gone.
Yes, bump the smell. We're talking
Yeah.
about the relief. Okay, sis, we're talking about the relief. And we're here to say that this is for informational purposes, y'all.
Hmm.
Don't be saying that we told y'all that you need to do this. We're saying this is something that I've actually heard about that works too, because
Yep.
cabbage, things like cabbage and onion,
Hmm.
also have some benefits in which they can reduce inflammation, as well as help with supporting pain relief. So very good. I'm proud of you though, girl.
Yeah.
You did all of this without even knowing your actual
Without
diagnosis.
even being diagnosed yet, and then we literally just stopped at the part where I ended up going home and I just lost all that weight. And that's when we decided, me and my mother decided, Antoinette, hold up, we need to have a sit down talk about this. At this point, I've never lost an amount of weight in my life. I've always been a more heavier female. So we knew that this was my this is a wake up sign that this is more than weight related at this point, because I lost the weight and it didn't go away. It was like, so,
Mm-hmm.
and I lost the weight suddenly without even trying. So we decided, Antoinette, in about 2 months or a few months, let's go get you a checkup. Let's go get a proper checkup, a proper, see what's going on, get a proper, blood work done. So we had decided to go ahead and try to do that the upcoming March. But at this time, my mother had started getting sick a little bit when we were driving back and forth, and she actually ended up passing away about what? About 1 month. Yeah, about a month and a half before I was able to go to my appointment.
I'm
So
so
she
sorry to
passed
hear that.
away. Yeah, she passed away, and so that month came around, and I went to my appointment by myself with one of my younger sisters. So we went into the appointment, and when I rolled in there, they were like, "Oh my God, this girl's so young." I'm young, but at the same time, even though I'm young, I'm in a wheelchair, completely wheelchair bound. I'm
Mm-hmm.
done gained weight back, and I'm sitting here and I'm rolling here, but I'm all smiles. Like I'm smiling. I'm so happy go lucky. Like my energy is like, that's just who I am naturally. Like I'm just a happy go lucky person, optimistic, even at
Mm-hmm.
my worst time of my life, essentially. Like I always say that my biggest test happened literally through my biggest test. So, I get into the office, he's talking to me, he's eventually, says, okay, well, we need to go ahead and start doing blood work. He goes to do blood work, and then, in a few weeks, the blood work comes back, and I come into the office, he lets me know, darling, like, I don't think you understand. It's definitely rheumatoid arthritis, but I don't understand how you're not like deformed, to how you are sitting here smiling, how you even functioning in this amount of pain that you have to be experiencing. Like this is debilitating at this point. Like I'm completely wheelchair bound. I'm completely, at when even at home time when I'm in the house, I am completely bedridden. Like I can't leave the bed. The only time I can leave the bed is if I'm scooted into the wheelchair. So I'm completely bedridden and wheelchair bound at this time in my life. And I'm only 23 at that time. I was only 23 at this time. And he
Mm-hmm.
lets me know, we pulled your work, and my inflammation levels, my RA factor was supposed to be no higher than 14 was the max, I believe. When they pulled my numbers were so high, over 650, their chart couldn't even properly register what it is. So he's thinking mine had to be like up in
Wow.
the thousands. And like, not only is it up there like that, but I haven't suffered any kind of permanent damage. I haven't suffered any kind of weird. It's so weird to me how that even happened. Thanks be to God for all things, because that definitely was not supposed to be, the turnout of all those situations. So he diagnosed me there. And not only did he diagnose me with rheumatoid arthritis, he diagnosed me with severe rheumatoid arthritis. So here I am sitting in the doctor's office, 23 years old. My mother just passed, a few months before. I'm sitting here hearing that, there's this autoimmune disease. There's no cure for it yet. It's lifelong. All these things are happening at one time. And then, back at home, my little baby brother was starting to get sick and starting to feel, he had a underlying issue, and it was starting to get worse at that time. And eventually, he ended up passing away too. He had a seizure in his sleep. So all these things were happening at one time. Life piling on, life piling on, life piling on. And then, not even, even to go back a little bit further, before my diagnosis, when my mother was trying to help me get back and forth to school, I was pressing so hard because I was literally on my last year of college. Like, I was about to graduate. So it's like
Mhm.
life hit me, or already hit me at a time in my life when it was like the most vital part of my life. So many different things were happening on the outside and around. I was finally, advancing and finally pursuing and finally, achieving all these different things I had been trying to achieve for so long. And I finally got my little apartment. I had finally got, passed my classes. I had finally got all the different things I needed. So I always tell my story like RA happened at that time for me. So immediately in that appointment, he diagnosed me with severe RA. And he goes to let me know immediately we got to attack this thing. We had to try to attack this thing. So he immediately threw all kind of medications at me. Now, mind you, once again, I had never taken any medications. I had never taken any kind of, not even a basic aspirin, never. I had never even had vaccinations. I just never got sick, besides like a common cold every now and again. But I had never gotten sick. So he threw all these things at me. I didn't know what I'm even like. He's trying to explain to me. I'm trying to look it up. But at this point, he just told me that I have to attack this thing. I have to attack this thing. So he immediately put me on, the prednisone. He immediately put me
Mhm.
on the meloxicam. He immediately put me on he had introduced methotrexate a few weeks later. He
Mhm.
immediately, introduced, I had to do a lot of levothyroxine, all these different things he threw me on. And then within 4 months, I was back up and walking. Of course, with these, with the medications included, I had continued to do my holistic practices with, like swimming, exercising and healthy eating. So all those things paired together, within 4 months, I was back up in my heels, trying on heels.
So how long was that time between the doctor who told you it was your weight to the doctor who told you it was severe RA?
The doctor told me it was my weight when I was around age 20. By the time I got my diagnosis, I was 23.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a 3-year span, and it was very likely you were starting to see some symptoms even before you were 20 years old, but just
Yes.
never knew they were anything because, first of all, the doctors were
Wait.
basically medical gaslighting you, telling you it was
Yes.
one thing that it was not. And then on top of it, we're not taking your concerns as seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But you still push forward, learned natural and holistic methods that worked for you. And then you turned around also and found another doctor after going to Google University.
Yes,
so,
that part.
so what I want to do is commend you because you've had a challenging journey. I'm so sorry for the loss of your mom and the loss of your brother. I know that added on to stress that could have contributed also to your symptoms at times because that stress that we go through can also cause us to have inflammation. But there was one thing that stood out. Even the doctors recognized it, and I recognize it too. Despite all of those challenges and the loss you had, you maintained a positive mindset. How did you do that, sis? How did you do it? This amazing company connects my passion with my purpose as I serve the chronic illness community. DrugView helps patients with autoimmune diseases gain full control of their health journey. For free, they consolidate your medical records to a streamlined portal, match you to clinical trials, and identify better treatment options for you. They help patients with autoimmune diseases gain control of their health journey by, as I mentioned, for free, giving you a secure platform with all of your medical records in one place, a tool that matches you to clinical trials based on your unique health history, and even more, a community where you can discover outcomes and side effects of medications and have discussions. Interact with patients with similar health histories and diagnoses just like you. In order to access these amazing benefits for free, select the link that is associated with this wonderful company with
Honestly, I always contributed to my faith. My
Mhm.
faith is the one thing that no matter what happens around me, if the world is lit up, if I have that little bit, you got to have some kind of hope, some kind of faith in something. You have to trust in something. You have to believe that something else, could come out of this. Like something, like even if, God forbid, if I was stuck in that wheelchair, there's people I could touch, at least there's somebody else I can relate to. There's something I'm able to do something. When I was stuck in this bed looking at them four walls for almost three, for a couple of years straight, like 2 years straight, I was stuck in this bed looking at these four little walls every single day. I was not leaving my home. I was still in here, I was able to find a group community of people on, Instagram. So it's
Mhm.
like there's always something I'm able to do. Like I'm out here bringing smiles to people. I'm like a big part of, I always equate this, like I said before, it's my faith. Plain blank period, my faith. Thanks be to God for all things. When I was sitting in this bed, the one thing I could do, I probably couldn't walk. I couldn't go, doing what I want to do. I couldn't really pull up, what I needed on the computer sometimes because my hand was hurting so bad. But I'm a singer, so I was able to sing. At least I could, sing. I'm a songwriter, so I was constantly writing so many songs during that time of my life. I equate it to my faith and just, how I was raised.
Excellent. That is beautiful. And one thing is faith is so important for those of us who have chronic illnesses, because it assures us, it's the assured expectation of things that we can't see. We can't see better days coming to us, but we can have that faith that it will. And I'm so proud of you that your faith strengthened you to be able to keep pushing forward and not just look at how you can affect your own life, but how you can affect the life of others. And you're right, from that wheelchair and from your feet, from your smile, from your computer, you are touching the lives of so many with your page and with your positivity, mindset that you have. It exceeds, you glow
Thank you.
so much that I was like, I have to have her on my platform in order to tell your story. Your story stems, it may have started out in a place where it seemed like there was no hope. And that you just don't know what would happen, but you kept leaning into your faith and creating space for hope in your life throughout all of your challenges. And I pray that you continue to glow and shine in the way that you are, because it's what actually brought me and you together was that positivity that you have and how much you are touching the lives of so many in the chronic illness community. So keep up that good work, girl. So
Thank you.
we've been through a lot. We've discussed your full journey. We've talked about how you went to Google University. We've also
Yes.
talked about how you experienced medical gaslighting that eventually you learned to advocate for yourself, not just through utilizing natural holistic methods, but by finding a doctor who would actually provide you
Yes.
what you needed. But beyond that, we're here today, sis. So what is in store for you? What is a part of your future? What are your goals that you are striving to accomplish now?
Health wise, my goals are, look, I always say that, the RA diagnosis, or like the words no cure does not mean no hope. So like I'm hoping to hit remission as soon as possible. I'm hoping to be off, I'm slowly weaning off of prednisone. I'm hoping to be off that. I'm hoping to have manage my disease so well that I'm able to, move off of some of the stuff that I'm on, to be able to try to battle it, holistically, as in like bringing my natural remedies back, and that being enough to sustain me. I'm hoping on the educational side to finish out my little last year and go ahead and finally obtain the degree that I was pursuing. I was actively pursuing. Spiritually wise, I'm just hoping to be able to get back up and do more that I was already, actively doing then. I'm back on my, singing, back to my writing, being able to socialize outside of, Instagram and real life. Some of all those little things I'm actively, excited about.
Yeah, and the truth is, it is the little things that matter so much to us. When you live with multiple chronic illnesses, and that's what you and I have in common,
Yes.
is that you not only live with rheumatoid arthritis, but you also have other conditions.
Mhm.
And for me, having rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, and have lived with endometriosis and other conditions prior to that, it's when you lose those abilities to do those small what other people take for granted, like being able to do your hair, like
Yes.
being able to take a bath without being in pain, being able to really associate and connect with others. People take those type or walking. People take those things for granted, but it means so much when we're able to regain those things.
Even more so, like not even being able to bathe without pain. I don't think people realize how much of a humbling experience these things are. Because there
Mm-hmm.
were days I couldn't even, not to be so, crude about it, but there's times I couldn't even use my own hand to wipe my own self. There was
Yeah.
times I couldn't bathe my own self. Like there's times I couldn't put my own stockings up. There are times that if I had rolled over on my side, I couldn't physically roll myself back. Like I would need somebody to come move my stuff for me. I would need somebody to lift my own leg for me. And it wasn't because, I'm not no heavy person. It was because my body literally, my muscles had wasted away so bad. It's like all these different things. Like I used to be really, really strong when I was younger. And from going to like, when I say strong, I was really strong. Like I could literally almost lift a whole couch by myself. I was really, really strong. From going from that experience to turning out, I couldn't even lift a washcloth. A toothbrush was too heavy for me to even hold, to lift.
Wow.
Like I don't think people understand how extreme this was. Like, I could sit here and try like because of my smile, like don't get it confused. Like, no, I suffered. I suffered. Like all these different things, 23, diagnosed, mother's gone, brother's passing away, being told, autoimmune disease, no cure for it. And then also being told I need to sign up to get a handicap sticker at 23. Hey, I'm getting a handicap sticker and being told at 24, 20, 24, and 25 that, you know what, it seems that because of how bad you are and where you have um, advanced to, this may be the height of your advancement. This may be as well as you're probably going to be, and I'm still living in like a really weird amount of pain still, even though I'm on so many different things, and being told at 25 and 24 that I need to consider, filling out disability forms. Like it's really weird, like for to get on disability. It's like so many different things that, people don't realize that go on outside of this. Just seeing my face and hearing my story is a very humbling experience, especially for a
Mm-hmm.
person who's used to doing stuff all by herself and used to being, independent, to being able to from having to being independent to having to ask somebody, hello, can you help me use the restroom? Or hey, can I get something to eat? Or I need to brush my teeth. Like you don't really understand this life unless you have, witnessed it or lived it.
Exactly. And that's why we need to tell these stories, is so that people can stop looking at the exterior, stop looking at the fact that we have conditions or illnesses that you can't see. Many of us, especially it seems like, especially for Black women, many of us, you can't really see it. And that's why we're oftentimes, our illnesses go undiagnosed or untreated because they're like, there's no way you could be looking like this, smiling like this, and going and under all this pain. But when you really take the time to do the lab work, and I encourage any doctor who is listening, any healthcare professionals who are listening. I am a nurse, by the way, but I can't write those lab work. I can't write the
Yeah.
lab work. But if you are listening, just do the lab work. Don't look at the exterior. Don't look at what you see the person being able to, what they appear to be accomplishing without struggle when they really are struggling. We're raised in cultures and communities where we push through so much, where we are
Mm-hmm.
able to mask and hide our pain so much that even when we need medical help and treatment, we're not able to get it because people are so affected by what we look like and not by what is really going on with our bodies. So, if you get anything out of this conversation, for those who are listening, especially for healthcare providers, go beyond the appearances. Take the time to not just look at the exterior. Don't look at the fact that a person may appear to be overweight, so this may be their situation. Don't look at the fact that a person is not currently in front of you grimacing from pain. Think about the cultural backgrounds and how many of us have higher pain tolerances. And that just might be genetics, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you.
Literally.
And I come from a family of women who have multiple autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses that took so long to get diagnosed because people looked at their exterior and did not take the time to really look at the lab results, look at the diagnostic testing, even give them the chance to even get
Yeah.
it. So I encourage anyone who has listened to advocate for yourself and find that person who is going to listen to you. Find that support system like Antoinette has. And not only has she found a support system, she became a support system to so much. so many people. So, Antoinette, before we close out, I want to know, Antoinette Chrisana, I love that. I want
Thank
to
you.
know, where can we find you? We would love to continue to follow your journey as well as encourage others to do the same.
I have 3 places you could find me, and throughout all those places throughout social media, I made a hashtag entitled "RA looks like me too," and if you type that hashtag in, even in the Google, you should be able to find me. But on IG specifically, I have my RA warrior page is illis.chronicles, and that's where I talk about. You'll see my whole RA journey on there. You see my pictures, all my background information, all my background stuff on that page. Then I have my personal page, was Antoinette_Chrisana. That page, I don't really speak about RA. Basically, it's more of a kind of my personal life, but like not the RA side. It's more like a breakaway from RA. You'll see me in my heels. You see me like my funny side, my personality on that side. If you go to, I do have a public page, which is Tweenie. So it's Tweenie_, and that's it right there. And you can just go there and find me too.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And I want you all to please go follow her. Let her continue to be a light and a continue to glow in the way she has done so in my life and yours as well. She has so much to offer. And then finally, you say that you hope to go back to school to finish up your one last year. What is that degree going to be in?
That degree, I actually, the funny part is I had actually changed it right before I got sick. So it was early childhood education, but now it's like philosophy and sociology.
Okay. So sis is about to do big things in this world, okay?
Yes.
Either way, whatever you decide to do, I know you are going to make a big difference. And you have done so much research. Well, actually, you're gathering so much research for whatever you pursue in your career with
Yeah.
sociology and philosophy as well. So keep up the amazing work. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I hope that it has touched the lives of many young women that are out there, not just young women. Us midlife women, because some people don't know a sister's in her midlife right now and beyond. Um, I hope that it touches you to see that despite the challenges in your journey, you can learn to thrive. You can have a mindset that pushes you to remain positive so that you don't have to allow your illness to become you. We may have rheumatoid arthritis, we may have chronic illnesses, but those chronic illnesses do not define us. So, in the end, everyone, I want to thank Antoinette Chrisana for being with us today, for sharing your journey. It has touched my heart today. And I want to let everyone who is listening know that despite all you may be going through, we Inflamed Sisters always thrive together.